county commission races or school board races. There's quality candidates up and down the ballot, and it's important to win, but more importantly, once we're in there, we have to govern. We have to put up points on the board for our constituencies and actually make things better for the people who sent us there. And none of us have lost sight of that.
Are there other things that you would like to make sure that we talk about?
Yeah, I mean, just generally what I want to convey to your listeners is that the mood in Ohio, the bellwether state for national politics and national elections, is incredibly optimistic. That candidates, as I just mentioned, up and down the ballot are working together and see a clear path to victory in districts that have been gerrymandered, but that we can't do it alone. With 77 days until the end of the election, we're calling on all folks of good conscience and common sense, no matter what party they belong to join in our campaigns, to help knock doors, to help make phone calls, to give us the energy that we're going to need in order to finish strong and actually win these races. No one is going to do this for us. It's on us. It's on us to do the work, to stand up, to step into the arena, and to demand that change. And so if you'd like to get involved in our campaign, you can join us at Aftab for Ohio. That's AFTAB for Ohio.com. I think I'm the only Aftab in Cincinnati, Ohio, so it's easy to find me on social media. But what I really want to say, Kelly, is thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you so much for giving my campaign and our ideas this platform. I genuinely appreciate it.
Well, I'm very excited about your campaign, and if the lines hadn't been drawn quite so bizarrely, my brother would probably be in your district, but he's just barely in the 2nd district instead.
What community does he live in? Do you know?
Madeira.
Okay, yep, that's in the 2nd Congressional District. Well, Jill Schiller is a great candidate, and hopefully he'll be able to vote for her.
Yes, so he'll definitely be voting for Jill. So thank you so much. It's been really great to talk to you, and I am so excited to see all of the races in Ohio. I'm from Ohio, and so this has been a super exciting year to watch everything that's going on in Ohio.
That's awesome. Thanks again.
You want to save democracy, but you just can't seem to get off your couch. Well, you're in luck. Thanks to the magic of technology, you can now canvass for Democratic candidates from the comfort of your own living room. An organization called Red to Blue has a virtual canvassing program. It allows you to text registered voters and let them know about blue candidates, upcoming events, and of course, encourage them to vote in November. Red to Blue is targeting key districts that Democrats want to flip or hold on to. All you need is a computer and a couch, or a chair, or you could even stand if you want. They're not picky. Red to Blue will train you, they'll give you a script, and show you how to use their online dashboard. And they'll give you the voters to contact. The best part, this texting approach really works. It's not invasive, and it's more comfortable for people to engage with. It's especially effective with millennials. And we're not going to mention some gross stereotype about why that is. So, whether you're an introvert or an overachiever with too much on her plate, or just lazy, we're not judging. Virtual canvassing could be the activism you're looking for. To get started, just go to redtoblue.org to sign up. That's RED, 2, BLUE.org. I'm on in this segment with Dr. Vanessa Enoch, who is running for Congress in the Ohio 8th District. Hi, Doc Enoch.
Thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, so I'm from Ohio. I'm from northeastern Ohio, but we've been loving looking at all of the Ohio races this year. So could you start by just telling us a little bit about your background and why you decided to run for Congress?
I am a community organizer, and I also am a project manager, IT project manager. My background is in business. Currently, I am consulting, and I do business consulting as well as policy consulting. So I analyze policy and recommend policy to municipalities and government officials. I decided to run for Congress after I saw an article that read, "Men Decide the Fate of Women's Health Care." It was a room full of men. There were no women in the room. There were no people of color in the room. It was a room full of gray-haired men making the decision about women's health care. Well, out of that meeting, they decided that maternity should not be covered by insurance. And I was extremely bothered by that, especially because Viagra was covered. Mm-hmm. And, I just thought, wow, just the contrast. And to me, what looked like was it looked like there was no representation of women. There wasn't enough women in Congress in order to ensure that there were women at that table in that room to help make those decisions. Up until then, I had several years ago determined that I would never run for government office after getting involved in the fight against mass incarceration and the school-to-prison pipeline. I had been reporting on some local court activity and working hard to ensure that children are treated like children and that children have an opportunity to make a mistake and to recover from that mistake. And so as a result of that, I had made a determination I would never run for public office because I saw the inside of politics in a way that, I had not known politics, and I was disturbed by it. I thought, this is dirty. This whole idea of mass incarceration, I felt was an abuse of power, an abuse of the system. And as I dug deeper and deeper, it troubled me more. And I thought, never would I run for an office, a public office. And as I wrestled with that decision and came to understand that we need representation, we need diversity in our Congress, I finally made the decision very close to the deadline to file your paperwork in January to go ahead and run. So that's how I ended up becoming a candidate for Congress.
Can you tell me a little bit about the 8th District and what communities are incorporated in it, and what are the people there sort of thinking about and worried about?
That's a great question. So the 8th District is the reddest district in this country, and it was formerly John Boehner's district. And as you know, John Boehner was the Speaker of the House, and the person who currently sits in that seat got in on a special election and then a couple of months later re-ran to attain his seat. In that special election, it was a crowded field. And so I don't think that very many ideas had an opportunity to emerge during that election. And as I got into this race and began to survey individuals in the district, I found that the things that they are concerned about aren't necessarily the things that he has been working to transform and change in Congress. In fact, I found numerous people who were very unsatisfied with how our congressional representative is representing this district. People were concerned about things like education and health care and job creation. People talked about how their communities were suffering and struggling and how they were deteriorating and how resources aren't trickling down to the communities. And in fact, I developed my platform around what I was hearing from people in the community. And so those top 3 that people said that they wanted to see happen came directly from surveying people in the district.
And so this is the district that's sort of north of Cincinnati along the Indiana border, the border between Ohio and Indiana.
Yes, actually the district wraps around Dayton. And so it goes all the way from Butler County furthest south, and it extends through Clark, Darke, Miami, Mercer, Preble counties. So it wraps right around Dayton. So it is the counties just north of Dayton, and it's northwest, and it wraps all the way around to the northwest portion of Dayton, of Montgomery County.
So as we've been talking to people in Southern Ohio, we've been hearing a lot about the opioid crisis. Is that something that's touching this district as well?
Absolutely. In fact, the opioid crisis is the number one problem in every county in this district. this district, District 8, is suffering tremendously under the opioid addiction crisis. I actually had an opportunity to visit Springfield yesterday and sit down with individuals from Springfield Promise who talked extensively about how that crisis is impacting their communities. There was a police officer there who was discussing the breaking and entering and all of the various crimes. And what it equated to is all of the crimes that he had reported in their community was crimes of poverty and crimes of addiction. And so that was definitely something the people there were concerned about. And they've been frustrated that they don't have the resources they need to fight the addiction. And they are tremendously frustrated that, this has not been a priority for our legislators here in the district. And so we talked in great depth about some of the things that they wanted to see happen. They want to see individuals get treatment. People with addiction have been treated as criminals, and, yet some of the things that they're doing enable them to go in, be incarcerated for a short period of time, and then they're back on the street, never having been rehabilitated. And so what they want to see is treatment options for these individuals. And so I had the opportunity to discuss that yesterday, in great detail with them.
That sounds like it's then related to the problem of mass incarceration that you were discussing earlier, that, the profit motive of incarceration is getting wrapped up in the way that we're treating different problems in this country.
Right. And it is very, very troubling. One of the things they discussed as well is a lack of employment, a lack of jobs. And mass incarceration also directly impacts employment opportunities, because one of the things that I think has been ignored for the most part by the community is that those individuals who are incarcerated are doing jobs that traditionally were done by most of us who are on the outside. They're doing manufacturing jobs, they're doing agricultural jobs. So they've really taken our entire manufacturing industry and agricultural industry, they've taken it over, and those jobs are being done by people who are being paid 26 cents an hour at times and no more than $1 behind bars. They're educating individuals who are incarcerated to do jobs that most of us used to do. And while our communities are suffering, there are no jobs for those of us on the outside. And it's a very frustrating scenario when you come to understand that our own Constitution and the 13th Amendment allows for that. It allows for slavery under circumstances where someone has committed a crime. And the troubling thing about that is it allows for the exploitation of individuals on the part of corporations. And so when you get representatives who are taking money from these big corporations, they're bought and paid for. And so, of course, they have the motivation to continue this type of a system to ensure that corporations are getting wealthier. But in the meantime, those of us who, are diligently searching for employment are struggling to find jobs, struggling to feed our families. And, of course, it drives wages down for every other opportunity, because, people get desperate and begin to just take anything. And so corporations can pay everyone else lower wages as well. And so I think that if we really want to get a handle on what's happening in this country, we have got to get a handle on this issue of mass incarceration.
So you mentioned that this is a very Republican district, and in fact, I believe it hasn't been represented by a Democrat since the 30s, 1939, yes. And looks like it's been represented by white men as far back as the district has existed. What are you seeing and hearing on the ground this year? What do you think is your path to victory in a district that's been so heavily Republican like this?
I've actually been very surprised as I've spoken with residents of the district that a lot of people in the district, even Republicans, have determined that they will not vote Republican this